Today let's talk about Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom. I hadn't planned on talking about this game, but it kind of stole my life. I'm currently about 20 hours in. I'm in chapter 5 out of 9, and that 20 hours was within 2 days of gameplay. So I've been playing it pretty heavily, so I figured I should probably make a video out of it since it's taken so much of my gaming time. If you haven't already played it yet, it's very different from the first one. There's no Pokemon kind of aspect of like gathering creatures and like training them, except for the Higgledys. There are Higgledys, and that's sort of similar. So let's get to it. Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom. There's so much to say about this game. There's kingdom building, character recruiting, Higgledys, skirmishes, magic, Facebook, a creepy eye tower. Oh, what the hell. There's also one terrible button configuration decision, but we'll come back to that. This game feels like Suikoden 2. If you've never played any of the Suikoden games, they're about recruiting 108 different characters from around the world to join your kingdom. My biggest problem with those games is that you pretty much have to use a guide if you want to recruit everyone. Just winging it will cause you to miss or kill a bunch of those possible characters. Ni no Kuni 2 seems to do much better when it comes to this. I don't think you can miss characters permanently. Maybe I'm wrong, but if you can, this is still a better system than Suikoden had. Having said that, I doubt if there are any Iron Chef challenges in Ni no Kuni 2, and that's unfortunate. I think Suikoden will continue to keep that trophy on lockdown. Before we dig into the gameplay, let's discuss your buying options. As far as I can tell, there are 5 different versions, 4 of which are currently available. The normal vanilla version of the game is not available right now in physical form because the initial shipment was of Day 1 editions. This Day 1 edition does have some free sword DLC thing, which is not nothing, but I don't know, there's not a whole lot there. I guess if you pre-order this game at GameStop, you got this fun little keychain, and that's a nice little feature. The 3rd edition on our list is the Digital Deluxe Edition. It's a digital version of the game with a season pass for the DLC. That might be worth the extra $20, but I always buy physical versions when I can. The 4th version would be the Premium Edition, also $80, but a physical copy of the game that comes with some extra goodies like this 3D papercraft kit. I ended up passing on this when I went to buy my copy. I didn't much care for the extras. The 5th and final version would be the Collector's Edition for $200. Wow, it comes in a giant box and has some extra goodies like this music box toy. I don't know if it plays music, but it seems like it would. $140 more for a couple of extra toys seems like a bit much. I do love that giant box in the metal game case though. Some assembly required. Jumping into the game, we have fantastic stage design and wonderful music. I haven't run into any bugs, which is a nice surprise for modern AAA console games, but yeah. Then there's the wonderful music. My wife and I ended up having the Overworld theme song stuck in our heads when we went to bed last night. As far as the story goes, it's about what you'd expect if you've played the previous game. I'm not going to talk about it much because I don't want to spoil the game for anyone, and also because I never much care about the plotline in video games. I will say that it feels like the story is aimed at kids, which is a little bit surprising as the gameplay mechanics are a bit advanced. This is no Final Fantasy Tactics, but there are parts of the game that I still don't have a good understanding of. On top of that, there are a handful of game mechanics that must be closely monitored and kept in balance to advance through this game. Also, there's no Studio Ghibli involvement this time. The cutscenes are rendered in-game and not pre-animated this time around. I love Ghibli, but the graphics here are beautiful and I don't think they need any help. This is a good time to mention my first complaint about Ni no Kuni 2. Only the most important storyline moments are fully voiced. The majority of the game dialogue is in text with little 1 or 2 word sentences spouted out by the voice actors. This feels weird because there are a lot of moments that feel like they should be fully voiced, but aren't. This is hard to get used to, but if a corner had to be cut to get this game made, I'm glad it was here. For me, the gameplay is so well done that if it takes losing the voice talent and fluid animation, I think that's okay. At least it's not just pop-up face images next to text bubbles, right? Okay, where to begin? Let's start with kingdom building. This is a feature that I didn't unlock until after about 8 to 10 hours of gameplay. I absolutely love this aspect of the game. I have no idea how many buildings you can create, but it's far more than what I would have guessed. At first, you only have about 16 buildings to play with, but when you upgrade your castle, it expands. A lot. And I think it expands further. On top of creating all of these buildings, you also have the option to upgrade them, which unlocks new abilities. Buildings tend to fall into 3 categories: shops, gathering locations, and research. Shops require a shopkeeper and can be upgraded to increase the value of the items sold within. Gathering buildings like farms and fisheries will bring in items over time. Adding more workers to these brings in items faster. Upgrading these buildings allows for higher value items to be gathered. And finally, there's the research building. These are loads of fun and allow you to build the game around your playstyle. The Explorers Guild was the first research building that I focused on. You can unlock things like increased item storage and a fast walk ability. I guess this game did keep one similarity to Pokemon. No more monster capturing, but we get the skates. I'll allow it. When assigning characters to these workshops, you have to keep an eye on their stats. There are 4 different stats that will determine how useful a character is in buildings. Some will be better at researching magic, while others will be fantastic at crafting. The game does a great job of keeping it easy to tell which stats you need and putting the best characters for the job at the top of the list when assigning. Where do all of these characters that we're using here come from? This is another aspect of the game that I love so much. There are all kinds of quests related to bringing in new people to your kingdom. When the ability to take on side quests is unlocked, keep an eye out for these little eye symbols on your map. These are people to talk to that will give you missions for recruiting new members to your kingdom. Well, most of the time. Some will just join if you talk to them, but they have to be unlocked at a Swift Solutions location. More about that in just a moment. The quest these characters send you on may be something simple like a bring me 5 bananas type of fetch quest, or it might be something like defeat this creature to prove you're tough enough. There's a few other quests that can get a little bit silly. It's nice that all of these minor characters have a certain amount of backstory. I say that I don't care much for game plot stuff, but I respect that it's there. If I had the time and patience to hunker down and play the heck out of just one game, I would be glad to have these kinds of features. I'm glad it's in there. Oh yeah, Swift Solutions. This is another fun feature about this game that gets unlocked around 10 hours in. Quick warning, when it comes to quests and side quests, you can have as many as you want. When it comes to the character recruitment quest, you can accept as many of these as you can find, and you should. You won't run out of room. On the other hand, this is not the case when it comes to the Swift Solution quests. You can only sign up for a dozen of these at a time. A good portion of these are fetch quests, and you can see if you already have the needed items before you choose to accept. Go ahead and select those and just turn them in immediately after. You'll earn points that can be spent on getting information on more recruitable characters or on unusual items of value. I suggest focusing on the character information though. This will unlock new characters that can be easily gained by just chatting with them. Seriously, avoid the items. Keep the extra points for when more character information becomes available. Or don't. Play however you like. Maybe you know something about the items there that I don't. I suppose we should also talk about the RPG elements. You know, besides the awesome kingdom building that I love so much. First up, this is an action RPG. There are only 2 attack buttons, fast attack and hard attack. They can be comboed together a little bit, but this is mostly button mashing. There's also the range attacks that every character has, whether it be a bow, a wand, or a gun. Yeah, there's guns in this fantasy game. It's a whole plot reason thing. You'll figure it out. On top of these attacks, there's also a magic system and a zing gauge. The magic system has upgradable spells and abilities back in your kingdom, but this zing gauge, I'm not really sure what it does. I could look it up, but it hasn't felt important. Whatever it does, it doesn't seem that useful and is another one of my minor complaints. There are a few parts of this game that after being explained don't seem very useful or don't come up again for a long time. The zing gauge and the skirmish battles are both features that I forgot how to use, but the skirmish stuff can't be ignored. It will come back to haunt you. I'll look up the zing gauge at some point, but it feels like a tacked on system. Hell, it even automates the weapon switching that's tied to this system by default. This kind of tutorial problem isn't unique to Ni no Kuni. It's hard to create a tutorial that teaches everything without overloading the player, but this all could have been avoided if they had just stuck to a standard turn-based system. This is another area where it seems like they had trouble deciding who their audience would be. Turn-based battles would not be as popular with young people, but this game is complicated enough that I don't think kids are playing it anyways. The battles do become more complicated further into the game though. With most boss battles, I don't even mess with the melee attacks anymore. I suggest a run and gun strategy while avoiding damage. There's also a sweet turret gun Higgledy power. I love using this. Higgledies require their own set of guides. You can unlock them in 2 different ways. There are Higgledy stones scattered throughout the world that will give you a vague statement about their favorite item, and if you can give them one of those items, they'll join up with your team. Don't be afraid to skip these if none of your items seem to fit. There's a good chance you haven't found what they want yet. If hunting around for these rare stones isn't your jam, that's okay. You can cook up Higgledies back at your kingdom with the loads of items you'll be finding lying around everywhere. And I do mean everywhere. These sparkly spots are hidden around every corner and give you all kinds of items used for crafting. I think it's semi-random what you'll get from these. Harder to get to spots seem to have better items most of the time, but you'll still get a stupid pebble from time to time. Pebbles are dumb. There's also a different kind of hidden sparkly item. If you hop onto the ye olde social network in the game called Leafbook, it's Facebook on a leaf. You can find posts from a guy who's hiding stuff around the world and sharing pictures of the location. These tend to be some nice items, so keep a mental note of these posts. There's some other information on Leafbook, but it seems like it's there to be atmosphere more than a gameplay feature. Besides the sparkly spots, there are chests hiding all over the place as well. The golden ones can simply be opened, but the blue ones are locked. I think that these will be unlockable with a spell that is learned later in the game. There are loads of areas that are unavailable until certain spells are learned that will grant you access. In fights, monsters will occasionally drop these chests, which tend to contain equipable items. When it comes to these equipable items, I was selling off the excess ones I had at the beginning of the game so I would have more money for potions. This may not have been the right move. Later quests want you to gather items like those found in the chest, so heads up on that. If you need the money, yeah, you're gonna need to sell them, but please keep in mind that you may need those for quests later. Just something to think about. Let's go back to talking about the Higgledys. After unlocking them, you can have them join you in battle. You have 4 spots to equip them to, and all the Higgledys can be upgraded. In battle, they'll just kind of do their own thing most of the time, but occasionally they'll need to be activated. When they form a circle like this, you need to run into that circle and press the X button. There are loads of unique abilities that can be activated this way. Powers like a healing circle or this sweet turret gun that I mentioned earlier. Ah heck, I love that turret gun thing. Let's see that again. That's satisfying. Too satisfying. Let's bring it down a little bit with this. Small text boxes. I don't even bother to read these tiny little things. This is just a mistake. There is no excuse for this, and hopefully it gets a patch. Let's go ahead and take a moment to talk about some of the other bad features in this game. The map button and the menu button feel completely backwards to me. The options button brings up the map while the PS4 touchpad brings up the inventory and character screen. In the 20 hours I've put into this game, I still have not gotten used to this. This is a very unusual decision. This would be like using triangle as the confirm button. Next up, we have the missing rumble feature. It's possible that I have some settings somewhere that I screwed up, but I doubt that's what happened. I'm pretty sure they never got around to taking advantage of this feature. Another corner cut, and that's too bad. Maybe this isn't a AAA game. Is AA a thing? You know what? This is a AA game. One more complaint that I have is the skirmishes. I'm not super into these, partially because I didn't understand them very well at the beginning, and partially because they're not well documented. It's hard to remember where these are and what level they are. You'll need to grind some of these skirmishes to raise your levels, but you'll have to keep your own notes here. There's nothing on the map or in any of the menus to help you out. The skirmishes do get a little bit better, but they feel out of place to me. Another feature in the game that I haven't decided whether I like or not is the tactics tweaker. You can spend some points to adjust things like experience gain and elemental effects, but most of this feels unnecessary. One of these features allows you to run away from battles more easily. It has 3 different levels. I think that they had run out of ideas when they slapped that part in. The tinkering with elements part is a fun idea, but it's a lot to keep track of. I'd hate to leave a fiery area and forget to adjust my stats back and find myself getting destroyed by a water creature later. I'm a forgetful person, so I don't mess with most of this. If I do come across a boss that's giving me trouble, I may play with this later. For now, I just set this up to focus on extra experience and better attack and defense features. Another part of the game that I do like that affects battles is the food system. You can buy and craft food throughout the game, and the food items have timed effects in battle. These include features like increased range attack for a couple of minutes or increased defense for a little while. After jumping into a boss fight and getting a feel for how things will play out, I will activate food items. A lot of the food and equipable items focus on status effects. I haven't had to deal with any of this yet, but I imagine it's going to come up later. The saving and fast travel features in this game are perfect. Saving can be done in cities and on the world map and at these stones, which will heal you first. In cities there are cheap hotels, but with fast travel it's just as easy to head back to your kingdom and use the free heal stone there and fast travel back after you're done. On that note, you should check into your kingdom a lot. It's easy for the money your kingdom is earning to fill up to the max. Same with the items your people are gathering. Check in often to clear these out so they don't get full. Also, upgrade the coffers so that they can hold more. There's so much to talk about in this game, there's just no way to cover it all, but I would like to mention one final thing that amuses me to no end. There are loads of silly character names, Fido being one of my favorites. And that's that. The game's a 9 out of 10 for me. It's almost a perfect game and I feel a little bit guilty for not giving it a 10, but some of these problems were clearly from cutting corners. So let's start with the bad. Small, unreadable text. The skirmish feature feels out of place and I just don't think it's much fun. The story feels like a kid's movie. The most glaring problem is that most of the story elements are not animated or voiced. But then we've got the good parts. It's a collectathon. There are items everywhere. Higgledys are loads of fun. Find them, create them, level them up. Side quests. They're everywhere. They're not too difficult and they're not too easy. Character recruiting is fun and rewarding. Kingdom building with these characters is a fantastic way to customize your gaming experience. You know what? I dare say that these are not good features, but great features instead. Oh man, you did terrible again. You didn't catch me again, did you? I was right here. You didn't find me, 'cause you suck. Oh, him. It's bad news, that guy. So that's the video. I don't usually cover modern stuff like this, but that game's been taking all my time lately, so I figured I had to do a video because that's all the game I've been playing lately. I haven't even played any of my PlayStation 2 games that I bought in the last month, which is, I've gotten behind on that, sorry. And there's also, I didn't make a video last week. Work called me in kind of last minute on a Thursday, so I wasn't able to finish making that video. I do have it all recorded, so hopefully I can finish putting that together at some point. I don't know. I'm thinking about doing some different stuff. I'm thinking about making a Dwarf Fortress video. I'm thinking about taking my Raspberry Pi and converting it to a DOS box. I've even got like a floppy disk drive. Not that kind of floppy disk drive. I need that kind of floppy disk drive. They're surprisingly difficult to find for a reasonable price, but that's one idea that I'm possibly working on to play some DOS games. So let me know what you think of those ideas down in the comments. Maybe I'm going to do that, maybe not. I plan on doing it, but if you guys are super into that idea, I'll probably do it sooner than later. So let me know what you think. If you're new here, click that subscribe button. I make all kinds of silly video game videos. Silly? They're kind of silly. I try to be informative. They end up being silly, don't they? Subscribe anyway. Click the video. Whatever.